for listening to the Cruise Radio Network's Cruise with Bruce show. I'm Bruce Oliver, the host of this program. Welcome to today's show. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2011. My guest today is Celeste Thorson, and today we'll hear about the Destination X Hawaii TV series. We'll get Celeste tips on planning your own adventures in Hawaii. We'll hear about her life and travels, learn her career as a model, writer, actress, and artist, and hear her plans for the future. Next week's programs on the Cruise with Bruce radio program will learn about vineyards of Santa Barbara, California, with actor, wine and restaurant critic, local resident Michael Servin. And next Thursday, we're going to talk to Peter Fox about Washington, D.C., and listen to some of his music. My guest today is Celeste Thorson. When I think about everything that Celeste has done during her life, I say, wow. Celeste was born in Orange County, California, and spent much of her life and childhood traveling around Southern California, Colorado, Texas, Mexico, and New Mexico. In her early teens, Celeste traveled to San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, where she studied at the historic Instituto Allende, a classical art academy. An artist of many mediums, she has studied painting, sculpturing, bronze casting, jewelry making, and the performing arts. Today, she calls Los Angeles her home, but she's no stranger to the world. If you travel, you've probably seen her in commercials or on billboards from Latin America to Japan to South Korea, from spreads as magazine cover girl to award-winning international model on runways for Asian Model Festival Awards. You've probably also seen her face in commercials for Reebok, Paul Mitchell, Body Glove, Yoplait, Sprint, Nokia, Samsung, and Tom's Shoes. As a matter of fact, her face is seen in over 60 countries around the world, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. Celeste is also an accomplished film and television writer and producer. She's written 24 episodes for television shows like Josh and JB, and she made her debut in television as a co-host for 2 seasons of Destination X TV series filmed in Hawaii and California. Last April, she appeared in the CBS sitcom How I Met Your Mother. On the Destination X Hawaii and California TV series, Celeste filmed her own stunts like skydiving, rappelling off cliffs, scuba diving, mountain biking, flying fighter jets, and swimming with the sharks. Today we're going to get some insight to her career and hear about her adventures in Hawaii. She'll also have some tips on how you can design your own adventure to the Hawaiian Islands. Welcome to the program this morning, Celeste.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Bruce.
I know it's early there in Southern California. And yesterday when we spoke, you were on your way to a magazine photo shoot. How did that go?
That went fantastic, actually. Thank you so much. I'm still recovering from the long day in heels, but just kind of waking up with my cup of coffee, checking out the sunrise, and it's a beautiful day. So thanks again for having me on the show. I don't mind that it's a little early.
Well, every day you wake up on the right side of the grass is a good day, I guess.
Very, very true.
When I first learned you wanted to be on the Cruise Bruce show, I started to do some research on your life and career. And you know, today when people look up Celeste Thorson on Google or Yahoo, they see several pages filled with your activities and accomplishments. And you know, on the surface it looks easy, but it wasn't easy, was it?
Well, it's quite a journey, I have to say, to this point, and I'm excited to keep, trekking away and experiencing new things. But it was definitely interesting to kind of navigate through the diverse, interests that I have and kind of find my niche within the industry up to this point. So it definitely kind of took its twists and turns.
Well, you sound like I was and still am. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I love everything I do, and here I am doing something different in 2011 than I've done Well, last year I did some of this, but not a lot. This year I plan to do more radio programs. Uh, Tell my listeners a little bit about your background. How did you start out?
Well, as you mentioned, I was born in Southern California and kind of grew up throughout the Southwest. And as a kid, I was just very active in outdoor and water sports. I volunteered at summer camps, water sports summer camps, which were really fun, and we got to do jet skiing and water skiing and all these things, which really opened me up to kind of the camping and going out hiking in nature and rappelling and that sort of thing. So when I had the opportunity to shoot Destination X, it was kind of a great fit. And as you mentioned, I also had the opportunity to study at the wonderful Instituto Allende and follow in the footsteps of my mother and grandmother who had attended. And it really opened me up to kind of this artistic community outside of just the kind of art that I'd seen my mother and my grandmother do, which is more fine art and landscape and pottery and all types of still lives. And I always found myself to be more tactile. I enjoyed painting, but I found that sculpting and bronze casting and kind of working with my hands, suited me. And that's kind of when I started branching into performing arts. When I came to Los Angeles and returned from Mexico, I was actually doing political activism at the time and working for some great nonprofit organizations like Sierra Club and Human Rights Campaign and Save the Children and CalPERG. And they were really just wonderful organizations that were really fulfilling to work with. And as I was working with them, I was meeting more photographers and artists out here, so it was just a great kind of natural evolution to go from, kind of these tactile arts to something more performance-based. So that was kind of a fun emergence of my talents, as I didn't really nurture them too much when I was a kid. I was in a couple of, community theater plays and things like that, but never really considered a life or a career in the performing arts. So it kind of came to me when I was in my late teens, early 20s. So I got maybe a little later start than some of my co-stars, but I think it came just right for me.
That's very interesting. You actually know what you want to do, and when you see an opportunity, it sounds like you grab a hold of it and you go with it. And that's most people don't recognize what they really are interested in, and they don't know themselves. So when they see something that comes up, they're not as apt to pick up on it. So that's really great. How long did you spend on the Destination X, the project for Destination X? I know you made...
Well, it stretched over the years,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. We had shot multiple locations in multiple states. The first series we shot just in Hawaii, but of course there's just such a plethora of things to do there. So, between the island hopping and kind of being able to discover each island, that we really were able to do that for an entire season, which was amazing.
Mm.
And we were able to go there, several times and spend weeks there, and it was really fantastic to have that experience. The second season, we shot primarily in Southern California, Mexicali, Nevada, and it was more focused on, engines and airplanes and fast cars and that kind of thing. So we still did some nature-related things like surfing and rock climbing and things like that. But then we also were able to do some work in like fighter jets and be able to, maneuver some different aerial stunts. And that was really exciting and a totally different type of experience in the second season. So, I really had fun shooting both of those seasons because they just had such a, wide range of activities and
Is
locations that, we were able to shoot for quite some time.
Is there a better time?
Exactly.
Is there a better time to go there?
I remember we got rained.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely I wouldn't suggest going there in monsoon season. Probably not a good idea. We got rained in. We learned that little tidbit pretty quickly when we were down in we were in Waimea and Kauai, and then when we were and on the Big Island and the Hilo side, it was just really, kind of these torrential downpours, and they were beautiful because, you can see how the foliage and the wildlife just drinks it up. They love it, and the rain is actually pretty warm, so it's beautiful. It's the kind of rain you can definitely run through and dance in and kind of have a good time in without being shivering to the bone. But after a couple of days of that, you do want to get out and do some rock climbing, which isn't too safe when everything's kind of muddy and slippery. So
I
that
hear you.
kind of thwarted a couple of our rock climbing activities, just because you don't want to be digging into loose soil and that type of thing. But I think as long as you go during some of the summers and everything, you'll be fine. And also, if you're into going during the high surf season, the high tide, obviously going to the North Shore and the beaches during that time is really fantastic, because then you can really experience all that it has to offer during that time of the year.
In monsoon time, that is the winter time there, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
December,
during the summer,
I mean.
It's a great time to go. But then, our shooting dates, we had to return and kind of, finish up some things in November and December, and that's when we really ran into the rain. And of course,
Right.
a lot of it was the rock climbing that we were doing, and our guides were kind of like, oh, well, you'll be fine. There were some people that fell off that cliff last weekend when it was raining, but it's been like a week and you should be fine now. And of course, we get there and everything's just like muddy and slippery, and the guys are carrying the equipment just slipping and sliding all over the place.
Oh, yeah, and then they want you
so
to
that
go
was
up on this slope. It's fine. Oh, well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, go for it. It's safe. It's totally safe. So there was definitely a lot of kind of, just going for it and not being too, everything is, of course, safe, but it takes a little bit of chutzpah to just kind of take that first step and say, okay, this is going to be all right. I'm fully latched in and chained up and buoyed on and everything, so I'm going to be fine, and then kind of not letting your mind get the best of you when you've already kind of made sure that things are safe,
Right. Now, the best time to go to Oahu, obviously, for the big surf is December through February, right?
Right. So if you're looking for that, those really high tides, and I mean, when I say high tides, I mean like these professional surfers like Kelly Slater that we were interviewing were wearing helmets,
Right.
And, they were coming back on shore with their boards broken in half and being carried off by their friends. So I would say it's not for the faint of heart. I definitely wasn't, ripping some crazy barrels in the North Shore. I'm just not there yet. But I do enjoy surfing. And, I enjoy just, like, having a really leisurely time on the day at the beach and be able to catch a couple waves, and I'm totally good. But some of these really hardcore surfers, man, they come from around the world, and they just take turns getting pummeled on the North Shore. It's pretty brutal.
Yes, it is. It's fascinating to watch, though.
Oh, yeah.
It really is something to watch,
definitely.
the skill that's involved there. So you were in the islands a couple of times, and which islands did you visit then?
Well, we were able to pretty much touch on all of them, but the ones that we spent the most time on were the Big Island of Hawaii, Oahu, Kauai, and Maui is really fun, but we didn't get to spend as much time. We really focused on the three main islands that had, kind of all the activities going on, but we did get to go to kind of all of them. But, I'd say Kauai was probably the most beautiful one we got to go to, just because, the one that you want to stay at for longer, where maybe there's less activities, but just the natural view, the scenery, the landscape is just phenomenal. And so we had a lot of fun Zodiac boating around the Nepali coast and taking, helicopters and stuff when I went back, through the canyons and everything, and hiking. So that was really fantastic. That was really wonderful. And then we spent quite some time on Oahu, really investigating the history of the island and meeting different natives, like a big kahuna, which was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting. I really enjoyed Oahu.
Yes, Oahu, for the people that are listening that haven't been to Hawaii, is Waikiki and the North Shore, and Pearl Harbor, and then the eastern beach, which is really beautiful. Actually, the North Shore is more on the northwest side, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of on that region and tucked away.
Right.
And it's not as commercial. You get Waikiki, which is so commercial, and it's so hotel resorts and shopping, and then you get to the North Shore, and it's a way different vibe. It's very mellow and kind of fish shacks and surfers, like the real the real deal surfers, not just the little new beginners, but the pros. And
right.
It's a different turf up there.
Now you had four other co-hosts. How was your film team? A lot of people or a small group?
Well, I'd say it was probably a medium crew. We couldn't do a full crew just because of the nature of going out to these locations and having, limited space when you're cramped up on the side of a cliff. You can only go so far.
Exactly.
So, but it was really wonderful working with the different co-hosts, and throughout the seasons, there was actually more than 5. There was different, co-hosts that would kind of come on as features, but the main ones was myself and Lauren Frey, who were able to stay on through the whole both seasons and kind of consistently come back for different segments. And so she was the main other co-host. She's just wonderful, a really talented young woman who just has a real natural ability to do these great activities and stunts. She loves to rock climb. She loves to skydive. So she fit right in. But she actually came in later after the second time that we went to shoot. She came in that one. So, we had a variety of different hosts that kind of would bring their different expertise. One of them, Daisy Lang, was a professional boxer, so in the second season she was able to kind of come in for a boxing segment. And then we had a wonderful designer and fitness expert who came in and kind of was able to do, we were able to do yoga on the beach and kickboxing on the volcanoes, and kind of all these different segments that we were able to kind of experience with each host's expertise. So that was really fun, to kind of get a couple of different perspectives on it. And then, we kind of would have this team of generally about 4 or 5 girls, or sometimes we break off into our own segments and see, who wants to go deep sea fishing today, and who wants to go, rock climbing today, and we kind of break off into 2 or 3s and go film our individual segments. And it was just really fun. It was kind of a lot more free-form than some other productions, in just the sense that you could really have a little bit of creative control about what you wanted to do and which activities you wanted to participate in, which was really fun,
Right.
Because I think everybody ended up being able to kind of cross off everything on their list,
Right. Well, that's fantastic. So you really had some flexibility on what you needed to do and wanted to do, and with a small crew, sometimes that's better because I can imagine. I saw one photo of you hanging off a cliff, and obviously the person that was taking the photograph was pretty close or had a great telephoto. But I imagine, I imagine they followed you wherever you were going too, because you can only do so much with a telephoto lens. As a photographer, I know that. So what are the most enjoyable things you did in Hawaii and the islands, or the various islands?
Well, I'd have to say that skydiving has got to be on the top of my list, just because it's one of those things that it is kind of the ultimate thrill. And if you haven't done it before, it's worth doing it. We had one of our producers who was almost 70 years old, and he went skydiving too with us. So, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. It's just, kind of one of those things that when you do it, you 99% won't regret it, but
Right.
there's always that little slim possibility that you gotta kind of look in the eye, and when you're signing those papers that say you may die, it's really clear to you that there is an innate risk involved. It could be fatal, but when you take that opportunity to just surrender and just take in the view and experience it, and you go flying out that airplane and just look at the magnificent view that you're beholding, it is really life-changing, I have to say.
No doubt about it.
And there's just a great freedom to it. And we were blessed to be able to jump off of the coast in Oahu, where you're actually jumping over the water. So the view is just amazing. I mean, you can see these crystal clear waters with whale trails and little turtle heads popping up out of the water. And I mean, this is from like 10,000 feet.
Right.
We jumped from 14,000, but once you start getting closer, you can really see all this detail. And then you can kind of just fly in onto the shore, onto the green grassy area, and it's just a great place to land. You get all the mountain views, the water, the ocean, and it's just so lush. It's just the most amazing, like, postcard paradise view from up there that you can only get when you're flying through the air.
Exactly. So what surprised you about Hawaii? Had you been there before this?
No, I had never been to Hawaii before the show, and I was so happy that I really got to a little bit of an intensive, immersion course, because since I was writing for some of the segments, and since I, in order to get the job, when I originally auditioned, I wasn't even auditioning for that show. I was auditioning for a different show, and when I started talking about my background, they were like, oh, you'd be perfect for this other show that we've got going on in Hawaii. So at that point, I really did a lot of research on it, so my next meeting with them, I could have a little bit more of an awareness about, the location. But when I got there, everything was kind of out the window because it just totally exceeds your expectations. When you can get a gorgeous view and wake up to that spectacular tropical view, it's just amazing. But what really surprised me about Hawaii was the power of the waves. I didn't realize how dangerous the water was, because it looks so peaceful and glassy and beautiful on the surface. But, the shape of the island being kind of like a pyramid, you can't tell that the waves are building for so long.
Right.
And then they have like a very short period of time once they get to the shore, so they end up crashing really hard and being like these, like magnificent waves that can really be double overhead. I mean, you can very easily get really huge waves, massive waves. And so when I first got there, one of the first things I learned was to never turn your back to the ocean in Hawaii because, it can seem totally calm and peaceful, and then a huge wave can just come up and swallow you up and never to be seen again,
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you always going to have it in the corner of your eye, like an unruly dog or something. Like, I don't know if you're going to snap on me, so I'm just going to keep you, at a distance here, because it was kind of scary, when you're facing the camera and talking to the camera, and you're like, okay, I know I have this huge monster behind me, and I'm just waiting for him to, swallow me up.
Exactly.
So that was really surprising. I didn't realize, how dangerous they were until I was looking at the statistics, of people to be swallowed up by waves while just, kind of walking along some cliffs or whatever. So that was pretty surprising.
That's interesting.
The beaches were really beautiful and surprising too, because there's just every color, green, yellow, black sand, white sand. So that was really beautiful, just seeing all those different color beaches in such a small area,
That's dependent upon the island and the volcanoes that were on that island, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And, when you see that black sand or that silt, it just really, really feels very exotic. You're like, wow, I must be, somewhere amazing, because it looks like there's these little black diamonds everywhere.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Coronado's like that, too. That's the thing that struck me about Coronado. I didn't expect it there. I expected it in, not Kona, but the other side of the island, the big island, where it's all black beach.
Hilo?
Hilo, yeah. All black beach. Very
Yeah,
nice.
I mean that was one of my big things, was wanting to go see like every color beach. So I just kind of went around and was checking things off my list, and it was just really spectacular to see that natural development.
So you talked a little bit about what surprised you. What did you like most?
I have to say that when you put in the work and the effort to hike up to a mountain or just an amazing view, and you can really just sit back and relax and enjoy. And a lot of times, I would go out without the crew and just kind of be able to go on my own a little bit and get that experience. It's just such a peaceful, serene experience when you're looking out into this vast, beautiful ocean and the lush landscape. It's just really fantastic. That was one of my favorite things. But I also liked rappelling because, you can kind of hang off of the side of the rock to get this fun, fantastic view that you normally wouldn't get anywhere else. You can walk all around the island, but until you're hanging off a rock somewhere on a cliff, you're really not going to get that special view. So it was kind of, the whole time was, okay, can I get the better view today? What can I do to get the better view? Oh, let's hike up to the third tier, a little bit higher this time,
Right.
and just kind of constantly trying to seek it out and find it kind of like a treasure hunt. But the volcanoes were pretty cool. I mean, I was very impressed with Kilauea. That was pretty phenomenal, and you don't realize how epic it is until you see it in person and the lava flow, and doing a flyover is really amazing.
Oh, unbelievable.
If you get the opportunity to do that. Molten lava, and watching it cool, you get to see it cool in the ocean. It's just such an amazing, astounding sight to behold, really.
Absolutely. Were you there during a wet time when there was at least water and you see all the waterfalls falling off the east side of Hawaii, the large island?
Oh yes, you got to see some wonderful waterfalls, and Wailua and Waimoku are gorgeous. And at Waimoku, if you enjoy a nice hike, it's about 2 miles in, so it's a really nice little short hike that you can enjoy, and go visit that waterfall. But there's so many waterfalls in the Hawaiian Islands that you can discover, new ones after rain seasons, and then there's the oldies but goodies that are always there waiting for you.
Right.
And it's just so amazing to kind of adventure around, because you never know what you're going to uncover, or what little gem you're going to find.
Right. So, did you have poi?
I did. I had poi. I had
and you
poke.
loved it.
I did. I think it's just, it could be an acquired taste. It's true. But by the end of my trip, what I never quite acquired the taste for while I was there was the Spam sushi breakfast items that they have going on. That I never quite acquired the taste for. I'm not a big Spam person.
No, me neither.
So I wasn't, prepared for that. I didn't realize that during the war that was, their primary staple meat that they were getting shipped in.
Right.
So it became such a huge part of their pop culture, and there's really cool pop art, Spam art in Hawaii that only they get. It's really part of their culture now, and it's amazing that you can walk into a 7-Eleven or into a McDonald's or wherever, and they're gonna have a Spam sushi or something, on the menu, and people just eat it up, So that was a really interesting little local cuisine that I never quite got into, but I did have an amazing time experiencing the food that they had there, and obviously if you get a chance to go to the luau, you get some really great exotic dishes, and there were just so many amazing restaurants when we were there. Obviously Nobu is delicious, but the places that we had the most fun were Giovanni's Shrimp Shack, and the shaved ice stands and coconut milk carts, and it just gave such an authentic spin to this, kind of commercial paradise where, when you get the local cuisines and the poke and their delicious ahi tuna burgers on the North Shore, just some great kind of local places that you can dive into that you're not going to get those flavors anywhere else.
Right.
So
Right.
it's really fun to go discover those. I'm a big foodie, so I really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's good. So you got a great restaurant, let's say, on the North Shore that you uncovered during your trip that a lot of people don't know about?
Yes, there is a place, and I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a I want to say like a cafe or something on the North Shore where they have these amazing ahi tuna burgers and sandwiches that are just like these huge tuna steaks that are just phenomenal flavor. And I remember we were there we had to just like go in and kind of pick up our stuff and then leave. We couldn't stay for too long. But I remember as soon as we left and we started eating in the car, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have gotten the name of that place. It's amazing,
right, Right.
But it was just kind of a little, stand on its own, looked like a little cottage or like surf shack, with some little seating out front, and like kind of a pickety fence. But I'm gonna have to look it up. Maybe I'll put it on my blog or I'll tweet about it if I can find it on Google Maps or something, because it really was such a treat. But I remember it was right along that North Shore Highway, kind of standing on its own, and they just had the most amazing tuna burgers and sandwiches. I just remember that like vividly.
Interesting. The pineapple, I'm told, isn't grown there anymore. Is that correct?
I remember everything was kind of like named after a pineapple out there, and pineapple fields and pineapple, this and that, and then a lot of the souvenirs that they do will be pineapples and kind of the hospitality thing going on too.
You have any packing tips for people that are, let's say, newbies for traveling, cruising? You've done a lot of travel and a lot of cruising. And as a visitor to Hawaii, say 3 things, if they don't do anything else, they got to bring those things when they travel, let's say to Hawaii?
Well, I would say, bring a good, comfortable pair of walking shoes. Ideally, if you're going to go to Oahu and you're a hiker, I'd say some all-weather kind of sneakers that they have that, you can go trekking through streams and water, and a lot of times they have the openings, so kind of water/hiking shoes. I think those are amazing because you can really get a good grip when you're on some slippery algae rocks, or when you're on the sand, or when you're hiking up a mountain. It just gives you some great traction. So I think definitely bring, if you can, like a hybrid of a sneaker and like a water shoe. They have those that are really fantastic. I'm really bad about packing, I have to confess, because I'm one of those people that likes to pack really light and leave lots of room to go shopping. So I'll bring some like simple bottoms and some bold tops, but I'll leave like half my suitcase empty just so I have the excuse to go shopping. Because, rather than taking all the little tchotchkes and this and that, I prefer fashion souvenirs, like the sundress from Oahu and the bikini from the North Shore. You can really have fun. And then when you are able to kind of go back home and people compliment you on your scarf or your dress, it's kind of a conversation piece, because it's not just like, oh, I went to Nordstrom's and picked it up. It's like, oh, I had such a great time getting this at this little shop, at this, place that I visited.
And
it
relive
just has a whole different meaning to it, which is really fun.
Absolutely. You relive everything that you've done every time you wear it.
Exactly. And so then every time you wear it, you kind of are able to just have that little secret with you, like, oh, it was such a great day, And my grandmother taught me to always bring at least one piece of outerwear to kind of shield yourself from the sun, with something light with long sleeve layers, like a tunic, or just like a button up that's really light that can be on top of tank tops, or if you plan on staying out in the sun for long periods of time, sunscreen can do so much. But sometimes just a really light layer to kind of shield yourself from the sun. You can still have it be sheer or light and summery, or so you're not going to be really warm, but it just gives you that little bit of protection that comes in really handy if you just want to shield yourself and so you don't have to get so warm. I did see a lot of people walking around, the beaches that just weren't taking care of their skin, and you'd see people come in one day and the next day you'd see them, they look like little lobsters, just peeling, and you just feel like, oh man, that's got to burn. You got to, one of the most popular things out there I think is aloe vera, because people just get so burnt, they get so lazy and relaxed on the beach, they don't care, and then they wake up and can barely move. So I think that outerwear is a big thing. And then I would say, just having a great swimsuit that you bring. Just, a lot of times women will pack like 5 swimsuits for a trip, and I don't think you need to do that. I think maybe 2 or 3 or even 1, and then go out shopping for one. But if you forget your swimsuit, you're less likely to participate, in the activity. So I think as long as you bring one, if you have the time to go shop for another one, you can, but that way if the opportunity comes, then you can just seize it and not have any excuses as to why you can't go in the water or why you don't have time to go pick up a swimsuit, So making sure that you bring that, at least you can maybe enjoy the hotel pool or go out to the beach, which you definitely, if you go to Hawaii, should get in the water because it's just so warm and magnificent. It's like being in a pool, and probably a lot cleaner, actually, than the hotel pools. It's just so clear there. So those would probably be my 3 staples: is swimwear, some all-weather sneakers, and a light long sleeve piece of outerwear like a tunic or something sheer or light that you can wear to shield yourself from the sun. Those would be my top 3
There you
pieces.
go. I have the same philosophy. Very interesting.
And my last trip to Hawaii, I was so bad. I actually bought a Hawaiian suitcase to put all my new Hawaiian stuff in. It was really, it's like I didn't have enough room, and that was really bad. I knew, but I just couldn't help myself. I'm like, well, I don't know, the next time I'm going to be here, so I better load up now. And man, I did. I had like a whole bag of just tropical flower prints, everywhere.
Very interesting. I think you're about the same as a lot of people that travel, especially if they bring gifts back. I don't bring trinkets back. I bring clothing or pieces of clothing for friends and family. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, which islands would you tell people to visit if they only had 10 days?
I would say, the 2 that are the most unique in terms of their landscape, I would say, are Kauai and Hawaii. Just because Kauai, you have the gorgeous Nepali coast with the Cathedral Mountains. It was one of National Geographic's top 10 most beautiful places in the world for good reason. It's just absolutely stunning and lush, and, it's very mystical. You get a chance to kind of tour that whole coast. They shot things like Jurassic Park and Harrison Ford movies, all kinds of crazy things that Hollywood has gone there and explored that area just because it is magnificent. And, you have these low mystical clouds that kind of shroud these cathedral mountaintops, and it just feels like you're in a Lord of the Rings movie or something. I mean, it's just like really powerful and brings you back to nature, and you imagine it makes you feel like you're in prehistoric times sometimes. I mean, so I think Hawaii is an amazing place if you like to explore nature, if you like to be in nature, if you like to go hiking. I'd say Kauai is like the most gorgeous, probably my number 1 favorite, most beautiful island. And then if you're into, activities and sports or the volcanoes, the Big Island has some great things for you too, because seeing the volcano is such a life-changing experience. Makes you feel so small, and it's just phenomenal when you get to see the sheer power and magnitude. So I think that's a really amazing thing that you can kind of do a lot of different sports everywhere, but seeing those locations are really kind of irreplaceable. And then there's a lot of activities to do there on the Big Island. You can do rock climbing and scuba diving and, all kinds of different things. But I'd say those are my top 2. And then I'd say, like, Oahu, just because you can do everything there. You can go skydiving. You can kind of have a more touristy kind of experience and do all the luau's and do all of the main types of things without having to go too far. It's all very conveniently located, and Waikiki is such a classic kind of place. You feel like you've seen it in a million movies, and so I think those are some fun 3 islands. But I'd say get to Maui if you get a chance. But I would definitely go Kauai, the Big Island, Oahu, and Maui. I'd say would be the top
there you go.
places if you can island hop in 10 days.
I think you're right. Now, there are cruises that go, and I was talking to you yesterday about a cruise that's just on the islands, and actually you can see off of one of those cruise ships at night. They go by the volcano, and I understand it's just incredible to see the volcano at night from the water. Unbelievable. We've already you got something?
No, I was just going to say you're so right. That's probably the best time to see the volcano if you get the chance, just because it is so vibrant, like a neon light. You know what I mean? It's just totally different than in the daytime. But please go ahead. You were going to mention about the cruises, the
right,
island
the island cruises. There are cruises that require you to leave U.S. ports if it's a international ship. And there are a bunch of them that are registered in Panama and all over the world. They have to visit a foreign port every so many days. But there are cruise lines that specialize and that have American registry, and I think I said it was the Norwegian, right? Norwegian-American line that just goes in the Hawaiian Islands, and it doesn't have to go to the Fanning Island, which takes 2 days down and back. So you've got a better chance of doing more on the islands if you go with an American registry type of ship. And that's something I found out in the last couple of years. We've talked about the best beaches and the volcanoes and all that kind of stuff, and it sounds like you've covered all the things that we wanted to cover, except for what tips do you have for adventure lovers? Are there tour groups or... you're in a little bit of a different circumstance because you're a production company, but if somebody were going to do an adventure in Hawaii, let's say on the large island, there's plenty of tour operators, aren't there?
Oh yeah, and that was one of the great things about the show is we were able to do some research on the things that we wanted to experience and kind of handpick some different vendors and tour guides to help us with that opportunity. But I remember when I was in Oahu, Climb Aloha was really good to us in terms of rock climbing. I'm not sure if they have a location on the Big Island, but I know that going up on some guided hiking trails is really fun just because if you don't have a great guidebook, it is easy to get a little lost. It's these really lush, jungly, tropical kind of climates and terrain, so it's easy to kind of get a little turned around if you don't know your way. So I'd say if you enjoy hiking, unless you're just going straight to like a waterfall that's just a couple miles away, if you're planning on taking on a mountain and maybe getting up top to a really nice view, it's good to have a tour guide with you. They can kind of give you some history along the way, and it's really informative. So I'd say it's really great for that. If you get the opportunity to scuba dive while you're there, they've got some amazing instructors that will help you if it's your first time or if you're a seasoned pro. But it's really wonderful to be able to experience what's going on under the water as well, because it is like a different world, and you get a new appreciation for marine life and their habitat. And one of the most memorable moments for me was being able to look a huge sea turtle right in the eye and have them just like swim right past me like nobody's business. And I was just really in awe of that. It was such again, a life-changing moment for me when you can really look into the eyes of these amazing creatures that have been around. They're so prehistoric, and yet, dealing with our day-to-day modern lives and kind of influences on them and their environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think when you go underwater and you're able to scuba dive and experience all these things, and it just gives you a different appreciation for nature and for their ecosystems, and hopefully will inspire you to want to protect them, whereas maybe when you're just looking at the water from above, everything seems so calm, and, you kind of forget that there's just every type of organism you could possibly imagine, and probably millions that you could never imagine down there. And it is like visiting a different planet. It's like going into space and getting into another planet and then saying, wow, this is how they live here, It's,
right. Except
it's under the water. So I think that that's one of the best things. If you're an adventurer, maybe you don't want to take on jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, but you want to experience something that's really life-changing, I think scuba diving is it, man.
That's the way. Now, you've been involved in 2 seasons of the Destination X series. Is there another series in the making?
They're talking about it. I haven't decided whether I'm going to come on or not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a great time shooting the first couple episodes that I've, been so busy with my own career and my own writing and everything now. So if I have the opportunity, I might go ahead and do it, but I think it would depend on the areas that we would go shoot in. Right. But we had such a great time just shooting for California and Hawaii that, those 2 seasons, they felt like a whole lifetime.
Oh, absolutely.
You go and you build such a camaraderie in such a short period of time, and get to experience all these amazing things. It's really a high endurance kind of a thing.
Right.
And it's not for the faint of heart, and you're really getting a high intensity of exciting, thrilling things that you can do, and I love that. I love being able to participate in that, and I found that lately, though, I've been more focused on, kind of my writing and doing those experiences maybe on my own.
Right.
But yeah, if I had the opportunity to work with them again, I don't know if I'd do the full season or just a few episodes, but I think it would be really fun to get back together with them. I know they're in talks about it, but nothing for certain yet.
Nothing for certain.
So we'll see.
So you're writing, and you're writing screenplays or books or?
Yes, actually mainly screenplays and teleplays. I find screenwriting to be a really interesting form of storytelling. I always loved to write fiction when I was so screenwriting, once I got into this industry, was just a natural progression for me. I really enjoy writing about kind of unsung heroes and people's personal stories. So I've been developing a script called Abnormal Andrea that kind of uncovers in a romantic comedy setting a agoraphobic girl that is also suffering from OCD, and how she basically overcomes it to fall in love. So that's kind of a fun story, a comedy that humanizes a little bit of these disorders, and also shows how people can kind of overcome them in their own personal circumstances, and have some of these small wins that will result in leading a more fulfilling life. So that's been really fun, is developing that script. And then I overcome them in their own personal circumstances, and have some of these small wins that will result in leading a more fulfilling life. So that's been really fun, is developing that script. And then I recently finished a script with an amazing psychologist that we co-wrote together called Ira Aldridge that was really fantastic, and his name's Dr. Sam Q. He's a phenomenal writer, and so we had the opportunity to write about that, which was the first African-American to leave the United States and become famous around the world as a Shakespearean stage actor.
Wow.
So he really made a name for himself at a time where there was no film and television and radio, that it was all word of mouth, and to become world-renowned at that time was a real feat for such an astounding type of the performances that he would do. So that was another great unsung hero story that we've kind of just finished up, and hopefully we'll start making the
60 seconds.
So yeah, I really love writing. It's one of the most enjoyable things that I have been able to do. So I want to keep doing it.
I agree. So is there something that's going to be coming out that you might want people to know in the near future? You're going to be making appearances anywhere?
Yes. Actually, you can always check out the different shows of the, seasons that I've shot in terms of when they're airing and stuff on DestinationXTV.com. But you can also go to IMDb and check out some of the other films and programs that I've done and see when those are coming out. That kind of gives you the most up-to-date information. And I've done this other film that's coming out pretty soon, the Billy Armstrong. And obviously Admiral Andrea is the one that we're going on pre-production in, so that one should be coming out either towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year. And that'll be a really fun indie production that you can keep an eye out for, and either visit my website at CelesteThorson.com or IMDb to check out when that's going to be hitting the market.
And I did want to cover a couple other things. You are very interested in Save the Children, and as a matter of fact, you donate 50% of your profits, and the sale of your merchandise and designs are donated to the charity. What made you get interested in that specific organization?
Well, when I started working with Save the Children, when I first came to LA, I was doing political activism about 17 years old, and I was able to work with some really amazing organizations like Save the Children and Sierra Club and, Human Rights Campaign and CalPERG, and they were all really phenomenal. But I found that Save the Children really had such an amazing impact with their Survive to 5 program, which is all about helping children that are dying of preventable diseases survive until the age of 5 years old, when 90% of them are dying before they're 1, So that was a really amazing program that they had. And they also allow you to sponsor not only one child, but an entire community, and they've kind of changed the way that they have allocated their funds to be more effective and more efficient and use less for the overhead and less for the administrative purposes, and so that more can go to the cause.
Very good.
And I just really thought that resonated with me. I think that they have an amazing cause that gives children and families an opportunity they wouldn't otherwise have, and they just have such an amazing track record that I was an instant fan.
There you go.
And basically what I do with my merchandise, every month or every few months, we change it up and we feature a different charity that we go ahead and donate 50% of the profits to. And this month I think we've got Amnesty International, just because they're another phenomenal organization that really speaks up for those that cannot speak up for themselves, and people that are prisoners of conscience or dealing with women's rights or human rights issues, that are imprisoned and denied liberties and rights that we as Americans would think are inalienable and are, you should be born with. But unfortunately, there are countries around the world that don't treat people that way, and I think that it's amazing that they stick their neck out for these people and kind of mobilize caring individuals to stand up and speak up. And sometimes it's as simple as circulating a petition and just writing their name down so that they know that they got, people in their favor, in their corner. And they have some really amazing results from that. They help free people who are prisoners of conscience and help prevent executions and, just do amazing things around the world. And so I really think that, contributing whatever funds come in to that cause is just really fulfilling, because you think of, all of the people that are imprisoned right now that shouldn't be, that are falsely imprisoned or, experiencing different forms of oppression. And if everybody forgot about them, then there would be no hope for any of us,
Right.
But I love that these organizations, they remember, and they, even if it's not the popular thing to do, they will stick out for you and look out for your best interest when nobody else is,
Oh, that's really important, especially if you're in a prison in China or in Iran or something like that, to have somebody there that's dedicated to it. I mean, a lot of people, they've got their own lives, but these people make it their lives, so that's interesting.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. And for more information to my listeners about Celeste Thorson and her schedule, you can go to my website, www.cruisewithbruce.com, or visit her at celestethorson.com. Celeste is also on Facebook as Celeste Thorson. That's spelled CELESTETHORSON. And you can get
And the official, sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right.
The official, my official Facebook is actually official Celeste Thorson.
Okay.
So just so you know, because I can't add any more friends on the one that you mentioned, they won't let me. So now I have a different profile that is facebook.com/official Celeste Thorson, and that way you can get in touch with me.
Excellent.
Otherwise, I won't get the message. So.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to add all those links. I'm going to add those links and any other links that you've got to my websites and pages, and you can just go to cruisewithbruce.com, and I'm going to try to keep track of your schedule, and love to talk to you again. For my listeners, thanks for listening. If you'd like to listen to more programs like this one, please follow me or subscribe to my iTunes channel. All broadcasts of Cruise with Bruce are archived. Bye now. You've been listening to the Cruise Radio Network, WCRN, and the Cruise with Bruce Show. The Cruise Radio Network is owned and operated by Bruce Oliver, president of Aximundus Systems, LLC, in Las Vegas, Nevada. All programs are archived and can be listened to on our websites. Visit cruisewithbruce.com to join the street team and enter our contests. Then listen to future programs to hear if you won. Make cruisewithbruce.com your one-stop shop for travel and cruise stories, music, news, alerts, and reviews. If you have questions for my guests, please send an email to guest@cruisewithbruce.com or call area code 702-722-3781 and leave your name, the name of our guest, and your question. For inquiries about sponsoring program on the network, please visit our website and click on Advertising. If you want to share your travel adventure as a guest, please have your publicist email office@cruisewithbruce.com, and someone will get back to you. The Cruise Radio Network was formed to help travelers and cruisers make decisions on where to go on future vacations and holidays. As a guest, you will be asked to focus on your story and give listeners tips on the destination we're focusing on. We will also want to hear about your background, projects, and plans for the future. The network is looking for musicians who want to share their travel and cruise stories also, and have their music featured on our radio network. For more information about this network of travel and cruise-related shows, please visit cruiseradionetwork.com. Permission to use the music featured on the program has been granted by the musician and/or composer. Permission for rebroadcast of this and other programs are made by a case-by-case basis. All programs are available on iTunes.com. To add our schedule of broadcasts to your iTunes list, please visit cruisewithbruce.com and click on the icon or link at the top of the page. From that area, can also follow Cruise with Bruce on Twitter or Facebook. Thanks for listening. Now enjoy the balance of this program as we listen to Tony Pace's new song, Just Look Into My Eyes, available on tonypace.com.